Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn and my channel is Making with Marilyn. Now on today's video, I'm going to show you the first tumbler that I've ever engraved on a CO2 laser. Now I've done this on diode lasers before, but this is the first time for me to do it on a CO2 laser. So if you're interested in seeing that process from start to finish, including some tips, some strategies, I'll also tell you my power settings. Sit back, relax, and check out the video. Now here's the things I'm going to use in today's video. In addition to the xTool P2 and my computer, I'm going to use this purple powder-coated tumbler. I got a set of 4 of these. I bought them off of Amazon, and I'll put a link to those just in case you're interested. I have this rotary tool. This is just the basic rotary tool the xTool used to sell. I think now you have to get the RA2 Pro. In the software and the way I use it today, it's going to be the same thing. The RA2 Pro just has some additional features. I'm going to use some blue painter's tape. This is going to be a really good tip to help you when you're setting this up in the software. I have my little Sharpie. After I'm done engraving it, I have some alcohol, a magic eraser, some barkeeper's friend, and some paper towels. Now, if you were doing this at home, you would probably take this to the sink and you do most of the cleanup in the sink. So you may not need all of this stuff, but that's what I'm going to use right here so you see every step along the way. Okay, so before we go over to the software, let me show you what I'm going to do with this blue painter's tape. So I'm going to take this lid off. And then I'm just going to tear a small piece of this tape off. You'll understand more later. I'll show you in the software how this really helps you. And then I'm going to place this just up here at the top of the tumbler. And I'm going to put a mark in it. Now this is a straight skinny tumbler, and so a lot of the complexities that come with tapered tumblers or the Stanley cups, they're just not going to apply in this situation. So I'm going to put a mark on this. Again, you'll see why here in just a little bit. Now let's go over, take a look inside the P2. Let's get this set up. And then we're going to dig into the software and we're going to engrave this tumbler. Now here's the xTool P2. And I have it up on a riser base. So if you want to do tumblers or other thick things, you do have to have this optional riser base. Now in the P2, there's a crumb tray. And basically what you do, you take it out from under the P2. So let me show you where it usually is. Now when you're using just the P2, here's your crumb tray. So if you put the riser base on, you're going to slide it out. And then for these tumblers, I have to put it in the slot that has the number 1 by it. Let me show you a better picture of that. Now I can go ahead and just put this cover back up. This just attaches with magnets. Now let me show you how you attach the rotary tool to the P2. You have this little port right back here, and the cord that you use with the rotary attachment fits right inside there. Then you have this little collar, you just tighten it down to make sure that it doesn't come out. All right, now we're ready to go ahead and turn it on and work in the software. Now I've connected up the P2 to my computer and I have the power of the P2 on. So I want to go ahead and click right here and open xTool Creative Space. Now the first thing that I want to do before I turn on the camera or anything, because it's just going to be easier to see, is I want to go ahead and do my design. Now on that tumbler, I know that my tumbler is about 8 inches tall, and I really don't want my design any wider than about 3 1/4 inches. So I'm going to click right here on Insert, and then I'm going to insert a rectangle. This is just going to help me with my design. So I clicked on Insert Rectangle. Now I'm just going to drag and make a rectangle. I want the rectangle to be my usable space on the tumbler. Again, this is just kind of a template, something for me to visualize what it's going to look like. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to change the height to 8. And let's unlock this, and I'm going to change the width to 3.25. Okay, so this is my working space. I'm going to click on Image, and then I'm going to go down here and find a wildcat head. A few of my friends, as well as my sister, are huge Kansas State Wildcat fans, and so I'm going to go ahead and make this tumbler for one of them. So I'm going to click on Open. Notice it came in a lot of different parts and pieces, so I'm going to click on Combine and then Unite. Now it's just one piece and I don't have to worry about them coming apart. Alright, let's just drag that over here. And just so it shows up better, I'm going to go ahead and click on Engrave. That way it fills in. Now I want to put the text Wildcat Nation. And I want it to be curved. So I'm going to come over here, click on Text. And right now it defaults to hello. So I'm going to back over it in the text box. In all caps, I'm going to type Wildcat. And then I'm going to come down here to where it says typeface and find a different font. Now the one that I want is called Avener. It's right here, but notice you don't have to have it leaning like that. I can go down to Style and I can choose black and it's not going to be angled. Let's go ahead and hit Engrave on that too. And then because I want this above the Power Cat and I want it curved, I click right here and just drag it down to where I like it. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Now it's too wide, but I'm going to fix that here in just a little bit. Now I want where it says Nation down here to be the same size as this. So to me, it's easy just to hit Command-C for copy, Command-V for paste. Now that I'm in this box, I back over it, and in all caps, I type Nation. Now it's still on that same font, which is great. I want it angled the other way, so I'm going to click on this, and now I'm going to drag it up. Now let me pay attention to how those looked. So see, that one's pretty much a circle. Let's see, that one's pretty much a circle. I'm just going to call that good. Now this is way too big for what I wanted it. So I'm going to go ahead and select all 3 items. The first thing I want to do is align those. So with all 3 selected, as well as my rectangle, I'm going to go up to Align and then Horizontal Align Center. Now the second thing, without selecting the rectangle, so I'm going to click Wildcat, hold down Shift, click the Power Cat, keep Shift held down and hit Nation. Now I'm going to go right up here to Align and then down to Distribute Vertically. Now that those are the way I like them as far as proportions go and all that, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to say Group. Now remember, I wanted this about 3¼ inches wide at the widest. So with the proportions locked, because I like my proportions, I'm going to go right up here to Width and I'm going to change that to 3.25. Okay, I think that looks really good. Let's go ahead and put it in the center of my rectangle. Since this is all one group now, if I select the rectangle and that group, I can go up to Align, Vertical Align Center. I didn't really see it move, but apparently now it's in the middle. I like mine to be just above the center from up and down, so now I'm going to go ahead and move it up just a little bit. Now these are on 2 different layers, and that's going to be important because I'm going to go ahead and keep the rectangle as part of it, but I don't want to engrave the rectangle. Since it's its separate layer, once I get this on the tumbler, I can click on this eye and it goes away. Also, over here, I can click ignore, and even if it doesn't go away, it's not going to be engraved on my tumbler. Now that I know this is at the right size, I want to go ahead and I want to put my tumbler in. I want to take a look at the camera, and I'm almost ready to engrave this. So let me go ahead and say connect device. And I'll go ahead and refresh it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go turn the power off, turn it back on, and see if that does it. Okay, I heard it beep and I hear it moving, so I think it really is connected now. And this changed, so I'm sure it is. Now before I do anything else, I want to go ahead and click off my design. And I'm going to let it know that I'm using something that is cylindrical. And you'll be able to see better in just a minute, so don't worry about how dark it is right now. Let me click on refresh. Now I'm going to go back over to the P2 and I'm going to put my tumbler in. Now notice that it says ensure that the red spot falls at the highest point of the cylinder. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and lift the lid. Remember it said to have the red dot at the highest part of the tumbler. So let's look for that. Okay, I see it. See on my hand? It's on my thumb right now. That's the red dot we're looking for. So I'm putting this tumbler in there, and remember my mark? I want to make sure that's at the center, which is the highest part of the tumbler. So that's the first thing I'm doing. And then I'm going to move this so that that red dot shows up on my mark, because that red dot is supposed to be at the highest part of the tumbler. Okay, it's not quite in the center, so I'm going to turn my cup just a little bit. All right, I think that looks good. Let me go ahead and close the cover and go back over to the software. Now that the tumbler's in there, let's go ahead and hit refresh. Okay, so that looks crazy right now. Let me go ahead and do the capture close view because that makes it really a lot brighter in there. And we're going to talk about what this green line is, what my mark has to do with anything, but first of all, let's just find that mark. Okay, so much crisper and cleaner so that you can see it. So there's a few things going on here. First of all, my design is upside down. Oh, let me go back. I didn't move the whole thing. Let's go ahead and select the rectangle and the wildcat. Move it down, and then I want to rotate it 180 degrees. With that tape and the mark on one end, this is the top of the tumbler, that also helps me make sure that I have my design placed the correct way, meaning not upside down. Notice how the top of my rectangle is now about the top of the tumbler. Let's go back to capture close view, and now let's look down here. Okay, so it's a little bit high, so I select everything, and then I'm using my up arrow on my keyboard to move that. Okay, so I kind of split the difference. Let's go back and look at the top of the tumbler, which to you looks like the bottom, but it's really the top. It's actually on the right side of the laser. Okay, that looks good. So I know my design is good from top to bottom. Now the next thing is, see this green line? That is supposed to be also at the center highest part of your tumbler, because that's where it's actually going to engrave. So it wants you to focus right there. As this engraves on my tumbler, the laser head isn't going back and forth like this. The tumbler is actually rolling. So it's going to start engraving here, and my tumbler is going to roll, and it'll keep engraving this whole thing. So you might be wondering, well then why do you have the power cat in the middle of that green line? We're going to move that. We're going to move it to the right. And as soon as the T is on the other side of that green line, I'll stop. Okay, I think that looks good. So I know it looks a little crazy, but you just have to trust the process. So at this time, I think I'll go ahead and let's turn off the rectangle. I don't need it anymore. This is exactly where I want it. Even though it looks odd, it is exactly where I want it. Now notice this green line doesn't look like it's at the top of the tumbler anymore on that black line. Let's check it one more time. Go capture close view and then take a picture right here. Okay, it is. It's right on it. This is the beauty of this machine is you have two cameras. You have the big view camera and then you have this close view camera that really helps you dial things in. Before I engrave it, I need to have the laser head measure down to the top of the tumbler to make sure it's placed well as far as height goes. So I'm going to click right here on this little measure. This is called the quick measure tool. I'll click on that and then it's going to see if it is a good height. So it says auto measure succeeded and it says the distance is 0.474 inches from the laser head. So the tumbler will be a little less than ½ an inch from the laser head. If it's not in a good place, it is going to let you know that. It'll tell you up here it's outside its maximum distance or something like that. Now let's go ahead and change our settings. So what I'm talking about there is our power and our speed. I'm going to click back on the design and I'm actually going to use a power of 40. I tried so many different settings and this is the one that worked the best for me. Now it's not what other YouTubers use. You have to do what works for you. And then I'm going to go all the way up to 300 lines per centimeter because I want it to be really crisp. So as crazy as this all looks right now, I'm ready to engrave this. Now let's check this layer 2 and I want to say ignore on it. So even though it's still showing up, it's not going to do anything to it. I'm going to go ahead and hit process. Outside of the processing area. I don't know what that means. Now here's what I'm thinking it might mean. The fact that that T is under that green line, that might be what that means. Let me move it over. All right, let's see if that fixed the problem. And it did, so I can go ahead and click start. Notice it looks like it's upside down, but as long as it looked right on my tumbler, I'm good. All right, let's take a look at this, and it is not going to look like much yet. So that's what it looks like so far. Not too impressive yet. Now before I start cleaning up the tumbler I made today, I want to show you this is just a trash tumbler. I use it to dial in settings of all my different lasers. And so yesterday I tried a lot of different settings, but here's one that was also really nice. This was a power of 60, a speed of 200, and I think I did 200 lines per centimeter on that. That turned out nice. I'm hoping today's is even nicer. So don't expect perfection when you first get a laser. You're going to have to do some trial and error. Just experiment. Okay, so you saw why we use this. One reason was to get this at the highest point so we could put that red dot on it. The other thing is it does help you understand which is the top of your tumbler because when you're just looking at it through the software, it can be just a little bit confusing. All right, that doesn't look too impressive yet, does it? Now the first thing that I want to do is I just want to get all that extra powder off of there because it's burning it and it is just turning it into a fine powder. So let's do that first. It's still not going to look like much, but I just want to get that fine powder off there first. Okay. Still doesn't look too good, does it? Let's go ahead and try some alcohol. Okay, it's getting a little bit better. That black is starting to come off. But what I found was if I use the Barkeeper's Friend and a magic eraser, actually it's a knockoff magic eraser, that really does a nice job. I saw Simply Sally and she used the awesome spray that you can get and a magic eraser, and that worked really nice too. So if I wanted to, I could just try the eraser. And that's going to get some off. You see how dirty that is? But if I add some of this Barkeep Friend, that makes the job even easier. You can see that Power Cat really starting to come through. All right, let's look at it again. I think I'm going to do one more scrubbing using the Barkeeper's Friend. Because see the end? That still looks pretty dark. There's several parts that still look pretty dark. There we go. Much better. Oh, so much better. We are almost there. I need to work on Wildcat just a little bit more. Okay, I think that's good. That looks really good. Nice. So I'm just going to spray this one more time with alcohol, and then I'll dry it off, and then we're going to take a good look at it. That is gorgeous. I love that. All right, so here it is up close and personal. That did an excellent job. Now the camera glare is putting lines through it. That's just from the camera. This tumbler looks perfect. So thanks again for joining me, and until my next video, bye-bye.